Good afternoon, fellow Scallywags. This is Robert here from Scallywag's Fishbowl, sharing today's video. What we're going to be watching is the process I went through for building a new stand. The stand will hold four 35-gallon cubes roughly in the Mrs. New office. It'll be powered by sponges, and there'll be heaters as needed for the species where she does keep heaters. They'll be planted, they'll have lights. So today's video is basically just going to be on the build itself. It's nothing too crazy. It's just a very solid, very sturdy stand. It'll definitely hold the weight of the 4 tanks that we're going to be putting on it. You could probably put much larger tanks on it. So I start the process for building this stand by cutting a bunch of 2x4s on the chop saw. Basically, I'm going to cut them to length to make the 2 frames for the top and the bottom. Okay, so here I start to build the frames, put them together, trying to use my table saw as a table. Some C-clamps, start filling some pilot holes, realize I need more space, use one of the tops that I'm going to use to top the tank or the stand with as my table, and basically you see me drill some holes, drill some screws, try to get everything semi-lined up as much as I can to make it as square as I can, given the boards I've got. Okay, so what I start working on now are going to be the legs that connect the upper with the lower. I start by cutting some 2x4s to length. I cut some blocks to attach to the 2x4s. That way I have good solid waste to connect the legs to the upper and lower shelves. Get everything squared up and just start the assembly process. Now here is where the upper and lower have met. My phone's died a couple times in all of this, so I've got the legs semi-attached so I can get an idea of how it's all going to fit together. Making sure I can get everything as square as I can, as straight as I can. I'm using some really good 3-inch wood screws that are very nice threaded. They are a hex thread screw. They are super sturdy, and I make sure I have at least 4 in every connection point because it's 300 pounds per screw. I figure I'm super safe there. Here we go, working on attaching the uppers and the lowers, kind of getting a little bit of a guide in there so I know where everything is lining up, make them all straight. I do tons of sanding to try to make everything connect as flat and as flush as possible. Again, using my little guide to kind of make sure I know where my legs are lining up, sanding everything, attaching it. Flip it over. Here we work on what was previously at the top, and then in the bottom, making sure everything's good and solid. Looking good and level. Here's where I realized I needed to take some adjustments. My phone died. I made those adjustments. Here when you see I've attached some legs, I've spread my uprights further apart, and I just sand the ever-living daylights out of this thing. I want it to be as smooth as possible so that it takes the paint really well and there's no chance for splinters for anything. So when the wife is doing any kind of maintenance or decoration or anything like that at all, it's just really nice and finished. So lots of sanding to come. Okay, now that we've got the frame done, we bust out a couple of sheets of 3/8 inch sheeting plywood of some kind, something nice that I can cut to fit for the tops and of the shelves, just to finish it up so that the tanks aren't resting just directly on the 2x4s there. Gotta move stuff out of my way so I have plenty of room to cut my boards. garage is a little crowded. That 125 you see there on the left will be another tank that I have to reseal and replace both the frames on. Okay, now that everything's been cut to fit, time to bust out the sander and get it all sanded so that it fits in there nice and snug. It's sanded smooth, smooth for the tanks, takes the paint, so lots of sanding to come. So it's at this point I feel pretty happy with everything. I tidy up my mess, move things around, put away the saw, do a little cleaning because I want to paint it. I don't want the dust everywhere, so I do a little cleaning. Try to tidy up my space a little bit. Here it is, finished before paint. Looks pretty good. I'm really happy with the way it looks. It'll fit in the wife's office very nicely, and I'm excited for this. Okay, so here I've got some white paint. I've got a roller paintbrush, use as needed, and just some leftover white paint from several other previous projects. It takes 2 coats to cover these boards with a nice thick coat to cover up all the wood and make it look nice and sharp. So here's to painting. So after my phone dying, here is the first picture with the first tank in the wife's office. I really like how this is going to look for little picket fence to protect the bunny. Here we are with tank number 2 in place. There's 2 more tanks to go up top, some lights, and a lot more to come. So stay tuned if you like this build.